All right, everybody, welcome to Something Saturday, where we talk about all the news we didn't get to talk about the rest of the week. And what do we have for you today? We have a Scream 7 update. We have possible Superman movie news. We have the possible revision or revival, if you will, of the Snyderverse due to the fact that one of the properties of DC has found a brand new home. And, of course, we have the fact that the Oscars may actually address the slap from last year's Oscars, so let's talk about it. All right, so it has been rumored that Scream 7 will start filming later this year, and a lot of people are speculating about whether or not Sydney will be back. Now, one thing I noticed in my search of IMDb, however, IMDb isn't always extremely reliable, and some of what they say and find out won't come till a little bit later. But one thing I noticed was the absence of a Matthew Lillard cameo in this particular movie, in Scream 6. Now, that don't mean it didn't happen and we just missed it. It was somewhere in there and hasn't been necessarily revealed yet. However, we do know that he stood with Neve Campbell in regards of her paycheck dispute with the Scream franchise. So it kind of begs to the question as to whether or not Neve Campbell will return for Scream 7. And how could this happen? Well, without giving any spoilers, they did leave a little bit of room for a possible return of Sydney, as there is always a possible return for Ghostface, right? Ghostface is never actually just one person. He's never going to be some supernatural entity that rises from the dead. So there's always room for new stories and more stories to actually be told. It very well could come to pass that Neve Campbell will be back for Scream 7, with no actual story time missed for her. And the thing of that is that if in fact Matthew Lillard didn't do a cameo simply because he stood with her, then it stands to reason if she's back, then he will be back in the cameo form that he has been in every other movie. So I leave that off to you guys. What do you think about this news? Are you excited that we are getting a Scream 7? Because it has pretty much been confirmed and they are stating that it will start filming later on this year. So are you excited? Do you think Neve Campbell could come back to a franchise that she stepped away from for a moment, and could she do it easily? Keep in mind, no spoilers in the comments as to anything that was addressed or said in the Scream movie, as we don't spoil things on this channel. But that brings us to our next topic. What is our next topic? Our next topic is James Gunn is slated to actually direct the new Superman. Now, I thought this was a done deal, as he was already writing it. He already took the helm of actually writing this movie. But it has come to our attention that he will now be the director as well. Now, for those who actually are concerned about how he's going to treat Superman and the fact that Superman will be a lot younger in this movie, supposedly, but how young we haven't really gotten to know yet. He said it will be early on in his career, but not in origin, which means he will already be Superman. But the big concern here is Henry Cavill. And what does this mean for him? As Henry Cavill will no longer be Superman in the movies anymore. However, here is the thing that I've been hearing. Henry Cavill's time with the DC movies may not be as over as you think. Even with James Gunn writing a younger Superman and now directing that movie, Henry Cavill may actually be back, however, not as Superman. The rumor actually has that he may in fact have been eyeing Henry Cavill for another role altogether. Now, this does kind of jive with what Henry Cavill has said. Henry Cavill had said that he met with the new powers that be at DC and that he was not mad about what their plan was. He didn't give any farther news, but it is very plausible that that could have included another role for him. And the role I've heard once or twice being bantied about is the monster, Frankenstein. That's right. Frankenstein is in the DC universe. In case you didn't know, he is part of what is called the Creature Commandos, and Henry Cavill could in fact be in talks to play him from a few sources I've heard, rumors, and then there was an article I read that kind of addressed this as a distinct possibility. As I am a fan of the Creature Commandos of DC Comics, I've always sort of liked Universal Monsters, and they've done a really great job over the years of evolving the creature, the monster that is Frankenstein within the DC world. And I would be excited to see him voice it in the animated series, knowing that that means that he would also be playing it live action at some point. But I want to know what you guys think. Are you excited for James Gunn directing as well as writing the new Superman movie? And what do you think of the possibility that Henry Cavill isn't as done with the DC movies as you previously thought? And who do you think he should play? Okay, so next up, Batman the Caped Crusader animated series has been dropped from HBO Max, and we knew this a while back, but it has apparently now found a home on Amazon. And this has a lot of people in an uproar, saying that this is the way of the future, that products that DC doesn't want to continue on can actually find a new life. They can find a new home on other streaming services, which has brought back the whole campaign to restore the Snyderverse. As Snyder is now working primarily for Netflix, a lot of people are saying with them selling the Caped Crusader to Amazon Prime that this means that they can sell other properties to other streaming services as well. This may not be entirely as true as you would think, because of the fact that they do want to eventually do a Justice League movie. Could they potentially have a spinoff or something of the Snyder Cut? Could we see this happen? Sure, anything is possible, but to actually think about the fact that they would sell a big property like the Justice League to Netflix just so that they can appease the fans of the Snyder Cut is a little bit of a stretch. I'm not saying that it won't happen, but a lot of people have begun their Restore the Snyderverse campaign again, saying Snyderverse to Netflix and all of that. Well, that depends a lot on two elements. That depends on DC itself as well as Snyder himself. And what exactly will Snyder decide to do if he is given this opportunity? Has he moved on completely from the idea of doing the DC projects to begin with? Or is he ready to continue his vision of the Snyderverse? Only time will tell how this all turns out. However, again, I think it's a little bit of a stretch, and as much as Snyderverse fans would love to see it happen, I'm not sure that we should be holding our breath for this to happen. But again, I want to know what you guys think about it. Do you guys think that HBO Max should sell the Snyder Cut to Netflix? What do you think about the fact that this new Batman Caped Crusader is now on Amazon Prime? Do you think that this is something we're going to be seeing more and more of in the DC universe? I want to hear from you guys. Now, our last bit of news is the Will Smith slap at last year's Oscars. Apparently, a producer of this year's Oscars has said that they will be addressing the slap. Now, as to how or why they're going to address it, it becomes a little bit more obvious when you think about the past and the Oscars. Normally, the winner of the Oscar that Will Smith won last year is brought back to be a presenter the following year. This, of course, cannot happen as he has been banned for a number of years for slapping Chris Rock at last year's Oscars. Now, this brings us to the question, even though this is going to be kind of a different thing that has never happened before with them having to get a new presenter to take his place, how do you feel that they should be addressing this? Do you think that they should be addressing this at all? Chris Rock recently did a special on Netflix where he did address the slap. And this comes hot on the heels of the Oscars coming up again. So it does raise the question as to how, in fact, they should be handling this. I'm not sure that they need to handle it at all. Personally, I found it to be a little bit jarring last year that they didn't address it then. And the fact that we've gone a whole nother year and people have sort of forgotten about it, well, a lot of people haven't forgotten about it. And Chris Rock did bring it up again in his comedy special. So it is a hot take again. However, I don't know that we need to be addressing it at this year's Oscars. I feel as though we could, in fact, just have a new person come in and present the award that Will Smith would have come back to present. However, I want to know what you guys think. Does it need to be addressed any more than it has been? So we want to know what you guys think about any of the topics we talked about today. Don't forget to leave us a comment in the comment box below. Don't forget to share this video so that your friends can be a part of our conversation as well. And then, friends, don't forget to hit that like button. It's free, it helps the channel, and we appreciate it. Miko says we need more subscribers, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And while you're here, hit that notification button too, so you don't miss a single video we do. Then at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.